Are we going to let Adam start this one off?
All right, so Dylan and I are here about 2 weeks ago, right? Ish?
Maybe?
17 days ago. I don't know, it's the 20th, so about 2 weeks ago. Dylan and I went to PAX.
So long ago now.
I know, right? It was 2 weeks ago, and it feels like forever ago, but we've been trying to get together to talk about it for literally 2 weeks.
We were both sent to the desert separately.
He went to Texas, I went to Arizona, both for work, not by choice, although I think we both had an okay time.
Yeah.
But we really, really want to talk about some of the cool, more indie games, really, that we played at PAX. And there were just so many, and we had such a good time that even though this seems like maybe it's, like a little bit later than everybody else is probably talking about PAX, we wanted to make sure it happened. So I think the first game I want to talk about, and we'll put it here at the front, is Death Squared. It was actually the one interview we did while we were there, because I'm terrible at interviews, and I'm also terrible at asking people to be interviewed. And it was kind of the one that turned out. So these guys were, I don't know, we talked about it a couple episodes ago, but like the most gracious people in the entire world. We only had one microphone, and the dude, like, literally, we've been talking to him for like maybe 5 minutes. And all we'd said was like, yeah, we kind of do a podcast we'd like to talk to. He's like, oh, I've got another microphone. We can use this. Take it with you all day. That's cool. But anyway, I think we'll just cut right here. We'll put in our interview with the folks that did Death Squared, which is a really fun Switch,
puzzle,
Xbox, PS4.
Yeah, I think it's on it across everything.
Yeah, just fun puzzle game. It's really cool. I bought a copy, and we've had a really good time. So right now we'll talk to Ashley from SMG Studios about Death Squared.
Hey, this is Cliff from Bite Me Podcast. I am here with Ashley from SMG Studios, who flew all the way to PAX West from Australia to pimp their new game,
Death Squared. G'day, mate. Death Squared.
Right? So this game's super fun. We just played it. It's available.
It's on Switch, Steam, PS4, and Xbox One.
Yeah, and we played the Switch version, and it's really fun. It's perfect for that format. You've got the detachable Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
You get a couple other Joy-Cons. You can play 4-player. So tell us a little bit about this game and how it came about.
So it's a co-op puzzle game. You can play single player as well. And basically it's a game where you have to communicate and coordinate to kind of solve the levels. So you play together. And yeah, the Switch is like the perfect platform for it because we have 80 like single 2-player levels, so you can kind of tackle one or two while you're on the commute. And it's a game like you've got your son here, play with your son or play with your grandma. We really want to encourage more grandmas to play more games. And just, if you know how to go up, down, left, right, and you like puzzles, then it's the game for you.
So you're halfway through the Konami code, and you've got that.
Yeah.
And so no, grandmas, that's just like an untapped market, right?
Yeah. We actually tried to track down for testing. We rang up a few retirement homes saying, hey, can we bring in our game and like have them play our game and stuff? We're really good. So, outside people coming in, they're just like flat no. And we were naive thinking like, oh man, someone wants to come visit our people? Yeah, go.
Well, and the crazy thing is there was such a buzz around that when the Wii came out, where
exactly.
they were bringing Wii's into nursing homes.
I think we bought into that. So and then we thought, should we stalk the shopping mall for old people? And I was like, no, it's a bit creepy. So hey, come back to our office and play games. So
it's perfect. You just get there like 7 a.m. when they're all walking and bring it back. No, it's
but
perfect.
it is, again, it's like the very accessible Portal 2 or Overcooked meets Portal 2. Or someone said that before. I really like that one. Because it's just a game where, it's like putting together IKEA furniture without the instructions. You kind of learn as you go, and then maybe someone will just be like, all right, let's finish it tomorrow because I'm too angry.
IKEA furniture barely has instructions in the first place. But so now I saw a guy out here playing this game with another person blindfolded.
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about that.
We're Australian, so we bet on everything. It's like kind of a thing. And so we just thought we'd make it interesting. We've got a challenge. So if you put on a blindfold and your partner tells you how to control the level, and you beat a level in 1 minute, we've got special levels, you get $100 cash.
Oh, that's
so we gave out $200 yesterday. And, so we had people doing that. So some people just go like, I want to do the challenge. Like, have you played the game? No. It's like, play the game first. It'll probably give you a bit more of an advantage.
I mean, honestly, I played the game unblindfolded and died, 10 times in the first 3 levels. So.
Yeah, we got some simple levels, but we're not going to give away $100 really easily.
No, of course not. Yeah. So now tell me again, you said there's 80
2-player, single-player story levels. So we've got a full story that's, kind of voiced throughout. It's kind of a bit Stanley Parable, Portal kind of thing. We've got 44-player party levels. and there's another 35 or so kind of weird levels that we just couldn't fit in the main game.
So what's a weird level like? What makes a level weird?
Sometimes it's like, it looks really cool, but it's really easy, or it's like super hard, and it's like, no one will finish this, and so we just took it out, because we didn't want the flow to be like, too insane. And we got a few that we finished after we'd kind of like made after we finished the game.
Sure.
So
You just had extra stuff laying around?
Yeah, and we're adding more levels now for free, so it's kind of like an easy place to kind of chuck those levels, because once you kind of craft an 80-level kind of arc, you don't want to go back and rejig that.
Mess with that. So now, we talked earlier, and the problem I have with a lot of puzzle games is that the difficulty tends to ramp. The first couple levels are easy, and then you hockey stick, and it bounces me off, and I think it bounces a lot of people off. And it doesn't sound like this is that way, where a 10-year-old could play most of the levels with an adult.
Yeah, anything above 7. We've made some like 6-year-olds cry at PAX East. They were like, Mum's like, we have to go, and he's like, I don't want to finish the level. But probably 10 and above is pretty good. We do have spikes, but it kind of relinquishes. It goes down, but it's really down. Some people fly through what we think is hard levels, because it's all down to your spatial, and all problems like that, or puzzles. But because they all fit on one screen, and they can kind of be, you can finish pretty much each level in like less than a minute. Nice. So it's not like use the monkey to make a monkey wrench to fly down, or use the rubber chicken, not too abstract like Monkey Island style. Even though I love Monkey Island. It's just about, you go, we'll go to bed and we'll tackle this one tomorrow kind of thing. Understood.
Yeah. So one more time, tell us where it's at, and then tell us how we can get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can see we're on SMG Studios on Twitter, Facebook. You can go to like smgstudio.com, deathsquared.com. We're on all the consoles, $15, bargain. We're on sale on Steam now for the PAX week. I don't know if it's going out before that.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, so $15, bargain.
$15 is like the perfect price point for this kind
we're
of
dropping
game.
our pants already. We're an indie game, so for us, word of mouth is working really well for us. Hopefully, someone plays it and they share it around.
Definitely. I mean, I had a great time. We all had a great time. So we'll continue pushing it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hopefully you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. Did you enjoy that?
It was amazing.
And
I enjoyed the game.
The game's super fun. I've really enjoyed it. It's got single player. It's got, I think there's like 40 single player maps, and then like another 40 multiplayer, either 2-player or 4-player multiplayer. And then there's, I think, another like 20 just kind of wacky maps that they said we were developing, and we came up with.
And they didn't quite fit into like what the story is, I guess, or in the main game, because maybe they were a little too easy or a little too hard, maybe,
or a little too strange,
and it just would kind of impede the pacing a little bit.
Perfect game for the Switch. That's what I bought it on. It's great because with the 2-player mode, you can literally and it's perfect for a Joy-Con. It's made for just having movement and a couple buttons.
Do you need buttons in that game? Or was it all? I can't remember.
I can't remember. It's been a couple days since I played it too. We've both been out of town, so.
So I think you just move around. So you really just need
the Joy-Con, the
joystick,
stick. But it's really fun. It's really fun, and it's made to be played with like your kid or your wife, or obviously your gamer friends, but also your grandma. They wanted to make a game that
anyone could play.
Yeah, exactly, and it works.
And the cool thing is you could play it by yourself too, controlling 2 different of the squares, which are actually cubes. So that's a little misleading, but.
Stupid 3D space.
It's 3D space. It's not a 2D puzzle game where you run blocks into each other.
I think squared. Maybe it was like maybe that's a pun. Anyway,
it's not funny.
It's funny. Yeah,
I thought it would be an exponent too, but then that would be you need a cube one anyway, whatever. So it doesn't work like that. Anyway. We don't talk about math on the By Me podcast. We talk about video games.
Yeah, it was really fun. Probably one of the coolest thing I saw them do too is in the single player game, they would actually blindfold one person and have the second person describe to the blindfolded person like where to move to get through the puzzles. They were actually offering, I think, $100 if you could get through a certain number of levels. But I've seen quite a few other people do it since then.
Yeah, they had a specific challenge, and a couple people were able to do it.
They gave away $200 or $300 the first day, and I assume that probably matched the next couple days.
Yeah, he kind of had mentioned that some people might come up a little cocky and think they could just knock it out, and it's like, no, you need to play the game a little bit.
I played it, and it was hard non-blindfolded, so I can't imagine playing it blindfolded.
Yeah,
so it's good stuff. Next up, we've got about, I'm going to say 15 games we're going to go through, maybe 18 games. I don't know. There's a lot of check marks. We'll see how it goes. And Dylan and I played a lot of the same games, but some of them we didn't play. And this is also going to pull in some games we played at that ID at Xbox event, too. Yeah. So I think first up is Yoku's Island Express. Now, you didn't try this at all, right?
I don't think I did play this one. Yeah. I did watch it a little bit, though.
The game's really interesting. It's a platformer, but the platforming is actually done pinball style. So you actually play I asked the developers, and you're actually a dung beetle who's carrying around a pinball, like literally like a silver ball, and you're kind of pushing around, and you'll get to a certain part of a level where you need to get to another part of the game, and so you'll squish this pinball into a launcher and literally use like paddles like you would real pinball to launch the ball further up into the level, use it to complete challenges. Like there's a level that we played where you have to hit this trigger in order to bring out a guy, and then it was like a slug kind of thing, and then you have to hit the ball at the slug, and it wraps itself around the ball. And then once it's wrapped around the ball, then you can hit it at different barriers and it'll break through the barriers. It's such an interesting, unique idea. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's literally unlike any game you've ever played before. I've played pinball games, I've played platforming games, I've never played something that combined those. It was probably my kid's favorite game. My kid came with us to PAX. Probably his favorite game of the show. He kept asking me, "Can we go play the pinball game? Can we go play the pinball game again?" Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. So Yoku's Island Express comes out next year. It's going to be on the Switch, the PC, the PS4, and the Xbox One. One other thing I guess I should mention, too, is if these games interest you, I'm going to put videos and information on all of them on our website. So if you want to kind of watch videos as you follow along as we're playing, by the time this goes live, you'll be able to do that, too.
I love a game like this that can take such a old school traditional game like pinball and kind of find a way to make it fit into a newer modern game.
Exactly.
Especially because pinball is, something I remember like playing pinball digitally like on my first PC when we had that
awesome like Windows 95 pinball.
It was awesome. The game was great. I don't know if I ever really got a very high score, but it was a lot of fun playing.
There's a bunch of like Mario pinball, I want to say, on like the SNES or NES. It was a lot of fun too. So
it's cool to see that in a new light that kind of fits in a different game than just literally recreating a pinball machine digitally.
Agreed. Yeah.
So
all right, next up we've got Aftercharge, and I did not play this, I don't believe. So this is going to be Dylan.
This was
I did play this game actually. I lied.
Liars here on the Bite Me podcast. Yeah. This game was a 3v3. It was very strange, and I want to talk about this one because it seemed like a fun mechanic that could end up being something really cool.
The tagline was 3v3, where the creators of robots fight their robot creations, I believe.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting game. The one thing I will say about it that I thought was really fun, and I don't know if you know this or not, but so you played it at...
This was at ID at Xbox.
So you were playing against another guy in line next to you, right?
Yeah, me and my buddy were playing.
So there's 4 other people playing, though, right?
Yeah.
There's no AI in that game.
Right.
And so what they did literally is the other 4 players, and we didn't know this at the time, were actually their developers back at their headquarters playing in these multiplayer games.
Which is awesome.
Because they don't have any AI. But yeah, it's really interesting. So you play... Which side did you play at? Were you a robot?
I was the attackers.
Yeah, and
so those would be the robots.
The robots.
I think.
And so the robots are just trying to kill the people that are attacking them and break like the people that are trying to kill the robots.
Energy extractors.
Yeah, actually have these points. Like in order to shoot your gun, you actually had to stand next to these like energy vials, and that would charge up your gun, and then you could use that to shoot the robots. And you were trying to remember which one were invisible? One of them were invisible.
The attackers are invisible unless they're punching.
Punching, yeah. So the robots are always visible, right? No, the robots are invisible
unless they're attacking. Or
if they were next to the extractors, I think.
Yeah, or I think if you can, I think there's like a sprint maybe is there sprint?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was a really interesting game though, and just an interesting take on that kind of, I'm going to say kind of arena shooter kind of thing, except there were really only, and there were multiple classes, and And we didn't play it enough probably to see if there was a huge difference between them.
The difference, but
very interesting game though, and it would be because it was only 3v3. Like it's really hard to get 6v6 for an Overwatch game, but it's pretty easy to get 3v3. So it's a game that I think when it comes out next year could be a lot of fun to play with your friends, just because it's pretty easy to get a team together.
Get 3 people together. It'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, coming out next year for the Xbox One and PC. You can sign up now, though, I believe, to be in their beta program. So go to their website and check it out.
It's just a neat-looking game, too. It's really, like, kind of
blue?
Neon. Yeah, it's dark with just really, contrasting bright neon colors. Yeah. And I think a game like this with some good level design would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing it. I watched my kid play it. He really enjoyed it too. So I think that's one to watch out for. Called Aftercharge. Next one on the list is UFO 50. This is such an interesting game to me, being like an old school SNES, NES guy. One thing I really remember is I had a friend who had imported a cartridge, I'm going to say from Japan or China, for probably the original Nintendo, and it was like 150 games in one. And literally, you'd put it into your system, it would just pull up a menu, and it would have, I don't know, like 7 different versions of weird pirated Contra and, weird Super Mario games, and just all these different wacky games that, some you'd played, some you hadn't. Or even a little further than that, like growing up, I remember we had like Commodore 64 discs that were, 500 games in one that, someone had pirated and given to us. And that's kind of the idea behind UFO 50 is that a game developer had made all these games and kind of gone out of business, and they'd never really been published. And so the idea of this is like a found set of games. And it's the dude who did Spelunky and a bunch of other developers are just getting together and making like 8-bit games in all sorts of different styles. There's platformers, there's role-playing games, there's strategy games, just all the kind of wacky little games you remember playing, years and years and years ago in the 80s on, an NES type system. And they're making 50 of them. And we played it at PAX, and it's really, really wacky and interesting. The games, they said, there's 50 of them, and they said they're going to be like not quite maybe as long or as big as a full-size game from that time period, but they're all going to be pretty big. They're
not mini games.
No, this isn't. You're not going to be able to beat any of these in 5 minutes. They're all going to be something you kind of invest your time into. There's going to be levels. There's going to be bad guys. There's going to be bosses. We played a couple. We played like a platformer.
This awesome like walrus launching game.
I forgot about the walrus launching game.
I have no idea what I was doing, but it was awesome.
And we were real bad at it. There was a soccer game.
Yeah, with the guy with the cool pompadour. I really wanted to play that.
Yeah.
Just the artwork for the, like, what would be like the cover art for this game is awesome. And it
super fun. It's coming out PC next year. And I bet you that's going to hit consoles too. I wouldn't be shocked at all if that made it to other places. So UFO 50, check that out. Next one on the list is Tunic, which is a game I've wanted to play ever since I saw its kind of launch trailer. It wasn't really the launch trailer. It's been in development longer than that. But they showed it at E3, and you play this little teeny adorable fox with a little teeny sword and a little teeny shield. And it's kind of I'm going to say it's like a Zelda-like, from at least what I played from. You're just walking through these different environments, collecting things. And I played it for maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and it's literally like the cutest game I've ever seen. You walk through these trees. Like you've got to see the video of it to really appreciate the art style, because it's just like I said, this little fat fox, and he walks through trees, and the trees all kind of wobble out of the way. I met the developer, and he was just the nicest guy. Super, seemed completely overwhelmed by PAX and all the people and people playing his game, and just so appreciative that there were people there trying it out that were excited about it. It's gorgeous. It handles so well. I think it could be a very deep kind of fun role-playing adventure kind of, like I said, I think it felt very Zelda-like. So give that a look-see. It's called Tunic, PC and consoles. I asked him when it was coming out, and he gave me a very, very vague 2018. So maybe 2018, maybe 2019. We'll see.
But remember, 2018 is not very far away
it's
anymore.
Really weird. That was actually the funny thing is we talked to these developers. We're like, when's it coming out? They're like 2018. I'm like, Then I'm like, well, first of all, there's so many amazing games coming out in like the next 4 months. 2017 is full.
Yeah.
And that's the other reality is that 2018 is 3 months away. It's absolutely insane.
Fast.
I don't know how that happened, but. Next game, At Sundown. Dylan and I both played this. This was Vinny of Vinny's Question of the Week, favorite game from PAX East.
And I think it might have been, it was probably one of my top three or four, depending. I will first of all say I'm terrible at it. Like, not just bad, but flat out terrible. It's a 4v4 killing game. They put you in. It's a top down with.
Not top down, like more isometric though, right?
Yeah,
because the level's tilted a little bit.
Yeah,
they put you in.
It's kind of like think of it like you're in like a game of Clue almost. There's like the different rooms.
Yeah,
and there's like dark and light spots of the map.
Yeah.
So
I got killed in that room on the left with a shotgun.
Yeah.
But they drop you in the level. You get to choose which gun you want. And there was tons
of different
guns.
weapons that do so many different things.
I'm going to say 10, 12?
8 or 10 probably. Each has a secondary fire too. So the shotgun shoots.
Wait, what?
You can shoot like one or both barrels so it has a longer spread. Or
this is why I'm bad at games.
I think if one of the rifles is shoot a grenade or something, I don't know.
No.
They all have a secondary function. I just stuck with the shotgun.
I didn't realize there was a secondary function.
I just wanted to shoot them, move on.
Yeah.
So that kind of worked with
but
my
it's
play
cool
style.
Because you start out like so these levels aren't big. I mean,
it's like 4 or 5 rooms.
Yeah, it all fits on the screen.
It's pretty symmetrical.
Yeah, and they're not even really. I mean, like rooms kind of gives the wrong impression because it's almost more like an area with like. Walls, but the walls don't connect to things. Like again, it's probably a game better seen because the script's going to be hard. But I mean, once you see it, you'll go, "Oh, of course, I understand that." Like almost like a very complicated shooting range, maybe. But anyway, you load in a level, and everyone sees where you load in, and then you immediately turn invisible. And the only time that you are actually seen in the game is if you pull the trigger on your gun. Or if you walk through the light.
Or if you sprint dash.
Or if you sprint, yeah.
You kind of get a trail behind you. You're not necessarily visible, but you see the...
And so you have to really pay attention to not only where people are, but where you think they might be going and like the logical paths of where they are. And then because you don't want to pull the trigger on that gun until you're pretty dang sure that person's in front of you. And it leads to a lot of really fun, where I know that dude's in front of me and I've got a shotgun that's got a lot of spread and you pull the trigger and the dude is 2 feet to the left of where you shot. And that dude ices you in the back and then someone else who's, down the hallway sees him shoot you and shoots that guy. Really fun game. Again, coming out next year for PC at this point. Again, I can't imagine that game won't eventually make its way to consoles.
Yeah.
It's perfect for it's good. It's going to be good on the PC, but it would be perfect on consoles where you can get 4 friends together all on the same couch. Matches are really fast, and so just a great game to
it's definitely something I want to play again.
Yeah. Super fun. Really, really enjoyed that. Next game up is No Heroes Here, which I did not play. But it looked really fun.
Did you watch us play that?
Oh, wait, no, I'm lying again. No Heroes Here. I was thinking of that other, that like Hero Tower Defense game you played. No Heroes Here, I did play with you. Yeah. This game is really, really, really fun.
So this game is like Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, but you're just in a castle. So you're not navigating through space or anything. You're just getting sieged in your castle.
Yeah, you're getting attacked by...
archers and swordsmen. I'm sure there's going to be more enemies than what we played against.
Well, they said there's a ton of levels too.
Yeah, so different layouts.
I think he said
castles.
There's like 45 castles or something. But it's really fun because you have to. It's not like Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time where you just man a cannon.
Yeah, it's like Overcooked meets Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time.
So
you have to get raw materials and forge them into cannonballs and load the cannons and then add the gunpowder
and
then hopefully your cannon's pointed in the correct spot because
as the enemy's moving closer, you have 4 cannons that are aimed at different areas of those guys running in, and you drop a cannonball on them and they blow up.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was other defense. Wasn't there like a honey you could pour out that they get stuck in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all sorts of different kind of, not siege weapons, I guess it's the opposite of siege weapons. Yeah, things that you'd use to defend these towers. We played it 4-player, me, Dylan, my kid, and just a random person. And it's one of those kind of games that you're walking through PAX and all of a sudden you'll hear a bunch of people just like, whoa, cheer, freak out. There's a bunch of like 4-player couch co-op games that you'd get pulled into because people sounded like they were having so much fun. And No Heroes Here was definitely one of those. Again, it's going to be a perfect game for sitting on your couch and playing with friends. The barrier to like entry on that was, I mean, I think anyone could play it. It would be a game you could play with, I mean, obviously I played it with my 10-year-old and he was great. Your wife, your girlfriend, you know.
You're definitely going to lose the first game you play because, or not necessarily lose, it's going to take you a game to figure out
exactly. We played 2, and the first one was kind of like, where do we go? I don't understand how these cannons work.
Yeah.
And then even once you figured out how the cannon works, I don't know how many times I'd get a raw material and then try and stuff it in a cannon and go, oh, right, I forgot I got to go all the way downstairs and make this into a cannonball before I can stuff it inside a cannon. So,
because shooting melting goo at people doesn't really.
I mean, it probably would work really well, but it's really hard to like ignite that and propel it out
I
of
think
the
it
cannon.
would just like sit in the cannon.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed. I don't remember which game I'm confusing that with, but I really liked Unruly Heroes.
Probably, that silly tower defense game that I played for a while.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it was called.
I don't either. I don't think it's on this list anymore. But super fun game, and that's coming out for everything early next year. Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. It's going to be a perfect Switch game to play with your friends. Next one is, man, probably one of the weirdest games we played there. It's called Keyboard Sports. It's only a PC game because the entire idea of it is that, like the premise of the game kind of is that, your keyboard's sad because the only keys you ever use on it are WASD, Control, and Spacebar.
Yeah.
And it's like a series of, I'm almost going to say like WarioWare style mini games, kind of.
Yeah.
Where
you use the whole keyboard.
Yeah, like so literally one of them is running across a street like Frogger style, like there's cars coming. And it's not like you hit, the left arrow and the right arrow to run. It's like you hit A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, semicolon to run across the street.
Yeah. Except there's going to be holes in there, so you're going to have to switch down to the next row or the next row and then dodge.
Yeah. And so literally you use the entire keyboard and it'll tell you on the screen what button you should be pushing. And so it's this crazy, like, first of all, if you're a touch typist, this is the game for you. If you're not a touch typist, you're going to spend a lot of time looking at the screen and then looking down at your keyboard and looking at the screen, looking at the keyboard, trying really hard not to get run over by a car or fall through a hole in a bridge. Or, I mean, there was we didn't actually make it to that level, I don't think. The game crashed, unfortunately, like right before we started, and so we got kind of like...
Someone ruined it for us.
Yeah, the game kind of, like, we kind of drew a crowd because there was a lot of people waiting. But there's like a gladiator style like thing where there's all these arrows and spears flying. You had to hit different buttons to dodge them. Really, really, really unique game, though.
Right. I think this game is the bane of my existence. I think I do not have the keyboard dexterity to do some of what would I assume would be some more difficult challenges in this game.
It is also, I think, the only game I've ever seen that actually uses if you have a, I know the Razer keyboards can do it. I'm sure some of the other like light up mechanical keyboards can also do it, but you can within a game say, "Hey, turn off all the lights in the keyboard and only light up B." And so the game would actually do that. If you were supposed to be pushing B would actually light up on your keyboard, and so it would actually tell you. If you're looking at your keyboard, it would actually be telling you what to push to progress in the game. So it's the first game I've ever seen that uses that. It's going to be published by Humble Bundle, actually. It looks like it's coming out early next year. Like I said, very, very PC exclusive. Although I suppose with Xbox getting keyboard support, maybe it could be an Xbox game too. We'll see. So that was cool. Next one I want to talk about was probably one of the most original games I've ever played. It's called Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. And the entire premise of this game is it's like a kind of storytelling adventure. It starts out with you're playing a poker game, and you lose the poker game effectively to a demon or the devil. It's a dude with a head like a werewolf. And you look at your hand and you've got like, a royal flush or straight flush, some really good card hand for people that play cards, and think there's no way you can lose. And so you do something like bet. I don't think you bet your soul exactly, but something very, very close to that, and you lose. And so kind of
don't bet against a wolf man.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Exactly. And so your kind of punishment is you have to wander the countryside, listening to people tell you stories, like discovering kind of the oral history of the areas you're walking through. And then you'll meet other people on your way, and you have to tell them stories, but tell them specifically the kind of stories they want to hear. The game's set in like a kind of Grapes of Wrath-esque
it's kind of a desert
setting.
bowl.
Yeah,
kinda.
Dust Bowl 19... was that 1920s, 1910s?
Yeah.
The way they described it, the guy that I first talked to, said it's imagine if you were playing a Woody Guthrie song, and it plays just like that, and it's got this amazing kind of like jazz soundtrack that plays in the background, and it's one of those games that people will play this game and go like, is that even a video game? And the answer is, of course, yes. And it also very much answers that, are video games art? Because it really was. And it was fascinating to, talk to all these little strange vignettes of meeting these people. And then I did one of the interactions where I tried to tell someone else's story, and they were trying.
Bad at it.
I was real bad at it. They're like trying to give me hints of what kind of story. They're like, well, I'm like, I've only got 4. None of these are the stories
and
you want to hear.
The fourth one that he told him, he still didn't like it.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Apparently, I didn't have enough good stories yet. But it's kind of interesting because then
the sun actually went down.
Yeah,
so it was bedtime. I think by the time you.
Yeah, you're telling these stories around a campfire at night, and that's kind of your timer. Is you only have until the sun goes down. Or maybe the sun came up. I don't remember. Something with the sun and it rising or setting.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that person then tells you the next place they're going to go. And so if you get a story then that you think they might like better, you could actually kind of follow them to where they are and then tell them that story that you think they're like. Just such an interesting idea for a game. 100% unique. Had the most... Like, it was probably one of the most interesting booths I went to at PAX. Like, they literally had... Sure. All the computers where you could play the game around the outside, like
were on these fruit stand carts.
Yeah, they
like
were
drawers.
Yeah, and like it looked like a farmer's market. And then around they had a fire in the center. And they said the first day they actually had fake smoke coming out of it, but the PAX people told them they couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah. And
they had like bales of hay where you could sit around and like talk to the devs while you were waiting your turn to play. They'd offer you fruit. Like my kid got an apple. They're like, "You guys want some fruit?" I'm like, okay. This beautiful backdrop with this. It was just a gorgeous booth up in the indie section.
I think they definitely won the booth art direction award,
especially for not being a AAA.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing game though. It's something I'm really excited about. It's coming out in PC early next year. That game was originally supposed to be 2017, so I think that game is going to come out sooner rather than later. So that was really cool. Where the water tastes like wine. Next game I played was I assume this is called Aegis, Aegis Defenders. This game was really, really, really interesting. We just kind of started playing it. At first, I was waiting in line. And I was watching these people play, and they were playing like a tower defense game, where you're setting up all these traps, and you're playing as these 2 players, and bad guys are coming on the screen and getting trapped by your traps and trying to get past all these obstacles you're putting in place, and you're attacking them. I'm like, okay, so it's a tower defense game, which isn't really necessarily my jam most of the time. But then we started playing the demo, and it was kind of this platformy Metroidvania find things. And so I kind of like, I'm talking to the devs, I'm like, what is this game? And it really is a mixture of kind of an action RPG platformer mixed in with tower defense. So, excuse me, you play the part of a grandfather and his granddaughter. And you're essentially relic hunters. You're raiding caves in order to find these things to sell, and it's just kind of what your family's always done, has been Tomb Raiders, to quote another game that you might be familiar with. And you control both of the characters. If you're playing single player, you control both of them. You'll move the grandfather to a point, and then the granddaughter will move to a point, and you're making your way through these levels. And then when you finally find kind of this end point where you found the stuff that you need, it'll turn to a tower defense game, and then you'll get past that, and it'll be more of this Metroidvania stuff. But if you play it co-op, one of you can control the grandfather, and one of you can control the granddaughter. Just beautiful. The artist was there, and he was drawing commissions that were just absolutely incredible. And it was really, really, really unique. Another one of those just games that I hope I hope it finds a market, because it was so different and so interesting, and just a ton of fun. So check that out. It's called Aegis Defenders, and it's actually going to be PC and PS4, and it's coming out apparently this year. So look for that before the end of the year.
And they also said later on there will be more than 2 characters. I think there's 4 characters total that you'll play as.
I didn't catch that.
And you can swap between all 4 of them, or if you're co-op, you can each swap between 2 or whatever. So your party grows.
Very cool.
But yeah, the art style was just great. It was eye-grabbing. Like, you would see that game and you'd have to go walk over
just
check it
just
out.
a gorgeous, like, SNES style pixel, beautiful.
And then in the conversation scenes, like, the full res art would kind of pop in from the sides, and it's kind of an anime style, so it's got that kind of vibe to it. But cool game.
Yeah, definitely something to check out later this year. In between all the other great games that are coming out this year. So take a look at that. Next up is Trailmakers. And this is a game I had absolutely never heard of in my entire life. And we were walking through kind of the indie section of PAX, and all of a sudden my kid, like, oh my God, it's Trailmakers, Dad, follow me. And I'm like, I'm like, okay, we get there. I'm like, what is it? He's like, it's like Scrap Mechanic, but it has like a story. I'm like, okay, cool. And so like the developer walks up, I'm like, cool, what is this? He's like, it's kind of like Scrap Mechanic, but Scrap Mechanic with a story. I'm like, okay, so apparently your marketing's working. And so I watched my kid play it, and Dylan played it.
I played it
for a
little
while.
bit.
It's real interesting. You build cars?
Yeah, vehicles, I guess.
And planes and boats out of parts.
Blocks and gears and motors and wheels.
And jet engines, and you make these fantastic contraptions. Kind of Lego style almost, just snapping different parts together. And then, which is exactly what you do in Scrap Mechanic, if you're familiar with the game that's in early access right now. But in Scrap Mechanic, all you can do is make them. The difference between that and Trailmakers is that literally there's a quest in Trailmakers to get from where you are to kind of the center of this place, and so you're always being driven forward.
Which sounds like it's a lot easier than it is, because I think this game relies a lot on physics. So you're going to have to build a vehicle that physically has the right weight distribution to go up a big hill, or...
Well, and that's what they said, too, is you'll get to a point where, okay, I've made this amazing, 6-wheel drive buggy that can go over all these different, rough points and high points and low points and uphills and downhills, and then you'll get to an ocean, and it's not going to work in there. So then you have to make a boat. And maybe the boat will get to another place where, you're back on land, but all of a sudden there's a cliff, and so now you have to make an airplane. And it just is going to keep driving you to make all these different vehicles. Really fun. Graphically very interesting.
Yeah, it had a cool look to it for sure.
Just very... It was cool to, when your vehicle would break, you'd like hit a button and you'd see the entire thing pull apart and then put itself back together. Just interesting. And it will be multiplayer too, so it's going to be the perfect game if you are, say, me, and you've got a kid who is like 8 to 12 that loves that kind of Minecraft, Roblox, scrap mechanic type game. It's going to be a perfect game to play together with your kids. Because and I think a game that you'll want to play with your kids because you're learning about how things fit together and how physics works. And, my kid put this thing together and then, he'd go over harsh terrain. It would just get jostled to pieces. And, so I need to put shocks on my wheels or it won't work. And, if I make my car too tall, it's not going to work because it's going to fall over. And so it's better to make a wider car with, a deeper wheelbase to, go over these things. So it's a lot about problem solving too. I think that game's going to be cool. Coming out to the PC soon, late 2017. So definitely watch. I think it's going to go into early access, honestly. So watch for that. Next one is Moonlighter. No, you didn't have a chance to play Moonlighter, did you?
Yeah, I don't think
a game with such an intriguing concept. It is coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox, presumably late this year. And the idea, like when I first got into the game, it plays, I'm like, it's a Zelda-like, because it plays exactly like A Link to the Past. You're just going through these different rooms, collecting artifacts, fighting bad guys, trying to get deeper and deeper and deeper into this dungeon. And eventually I died. And it warps me back out to the front of the dungeon, and this kind of old man kind of comes and collects me and says, luckily that's, kind of our superpower is that, if we die inside the dungeon, we just get pushed to the outside, but, you got to be careful. Now, what did you find? And so, you show him all these artifacts you find. He's like, okay, well, come back to the store and we'll get all those things up for sale. And so literally the idea of this game is called Moonlighter because during the day you run a shop in a village selling artifacts and health potions and all these different things. And people will come into your store and you literally have to, figure out what you're going to price these things at based on people's reactions to your pricing and supply and demand. But then you moonlight as a treasure hunter going into these caves to actually find the things you sell during the day. It's a really, really fun mechanic, and both parts of the game are really interesting. But just so strange and unique. Unfortunately, it's not coming to the Switch, which I think would actually be the perfect home for that. But definitely one to look out for on the PS4, Xbox, and PC later this year. So Moonlighter was a very interesting game. Next up, Treadnaughts. We both played this game, and literally, ID at Xbox is in this huge room. It's a massive, massive, massive room. And they have 4 rows of kind of table set up with, PCs and Xboxes on both sides. And they're demoing probably, I'm going to say 40 games in that room, just packed full of people. And every once in a while, you'd be standing there and you'd just hear this huge cheer come up. And you're like, who is it? Oh, it's the Treadnaughts guys again. And it's a four-player tank game.
Yeah.
So each of you gets a tank and you can play, I think, did you have to play on teams or could you play 4v4?
I'm sure I think there's probably a free-for-all too, but we
played on teams, and so we played 2v2, and you load into these wacky levels full of just these weird layouts, but your tanks, as long as they're touching the ground, aren't affected by gravity, so you could drive onto the ceilings. And then when you started to hold down the button to shoot, it wasn't just a straight shot ahead of you. The longer you hold the button, your tank turret would actually rotate. So it's not it wasn't like a twin stick shooter where you could just point and shoot. You could point and shoot. You had to actually time your shot to how long you held the button for. But then you also had boosters on your tank. And so if you got really good at it, you could jump up, shoot the ground in front of you and push yourself onto other surfaces. And so not only did you have these cool tanks with, no gravity, but they also had this really cool movement where you could jump across weird things and then land on the ceiling and then shoot the guy beneath you. And it just led to these crazy, even if you weren't good at the game, you could do these awesome kills that felt just you knew you weren't good at the game, but no one else had to know you weren't good at the game. And I played it with my kid. We played it with Dylan and a couple other people. It was crazy fun. The guys are based here in Seattle. young dudes. I mean, like they were maybe in their 20s, like stretching. I think they were all still in college, and it was so fun. There's a public alpha out right now on itch.io called Treadnoughts. It's coming out for the PC. Go download the alpha and just grab 4 buddies because you'll love it. It's super fun. So that gets us through the list of games that are not out yet. These are all games coming out in 2017, 2018. But we played another like 6 or 7 games that you can buy right now. And we'll go through them quick because you can go buy them right now. So just go buy these games. These are the games that we played that are already out. Some of them are in early access. Some of them actually have full releases. But we'll run through them real fast. First up is a game that I've talked about a ton because it's probably one of my favorite games that have come out this year, but it's the first time Dylan got to try it, which is Nidhogg 2.
Yeah, and I never played the first Nidhogg, so this was a very new experience for me, but this game was super fun, just as it was explained to me the first time. Pick up and play in minutes, you'll figure it out, and if your buddy, like I even came back with my buddy later and played it again on Monday, and again in a couple minutes everyone can kind of compete with each other, so it's never, even if you're good at Nidhogg, I think you're still going to have a fun time playing.
I'm sure
with
that there's
somebody.
like a skill ceiling to it where like you could get really good at Nidhogg, but the levels are so different and the strategies are so different, and the random weapons I think really help in that too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think it's a little more fun than if you always had the same sword or whatever.
Because in the first one you just had a sword. It was always a sword.
Could you throw it?
Yeah.
You could throw it,
yeah.
okay.
And the throwing mechanic is so fun. There's nothing better than like chucking a sword and hitting a dude like right as they're about ready to hit the level, just in the back of the head, and then you can take off running. Really, really, really fun game. It's out now for the PC and the PS4. If you get it now, or if you already have it, they actually introduced a PAX-specific level to it too that is very Seattle. It's tons of fun. So check out Nidhogg. Second one was a VR game called Ship It.
Yeah.
Which I think is just an Amazon training program.
Yeah, it's super funny. And I actually really enjoy this game, similar to how Cliff explained Yoku's Island Express, is they took a game and kind of morphed it into this other experience. And for Ship It, this is Tetris. So it is like a warehouse simulator, but you play a 3-dimensional version of Tetris by putting blue and red blocks in various patterns like a Tetris piece, but they're 3-dimensional, and you put them into a box that I believe is like 2x4.
Yeah,
so I think it's
like, or maybe 3x5.
Yeah, it was some dimension like that. So you're stacking 2 high blocks, and you gotta fit them in there perfectly, and you grab the blocks in your VR and you twist them and rotate them.
There's like a conveyor belt in front of you that just constantly has parts
moving, and you have a blue box and a red box. So you put the blue blocks in the blue blocks in the blue box, and the red blocks in the red box.
And then the faster you do it, and the better you stack them. Like if you have any open spaces, you get less points, and then you grab it and physically put it away
onto the ship out place. I was really excited to show my buddy who came with me to PAX on Monday this game, just because this is literally what he does for, like, one of my buddies works in a warehouse and actually like picks orders, and my other buddy actually programs software for warehouses so they can have people pick their orders. So this game was very relevant to the group of people I was with.
Did they say it was just like doing it?
Yeah, it was really funny because I explained it to him, and he's like, that's literally my job, is like figuring out how to how you actually put items in a box to fit most efficiently. Like that's like what he does from a computer programming perspective. So it's just so weird, but it's a very interesting game, and I think it succeeds so well for me was because it was a new take on Tetris, and it put it in a context that is very real. As simple as it is to put blocks in a box and then ship it. Like,
that's what they should have called it, blocks in a box.
Yeah, like it was just a really cool game. I was just very impressed with such a simple idea done on an excellent level. So
it's $10. It's out now for Vive and Oculus. Next one is the Shoot Mega Pack, which might be the worst name of any game I've ever played. I think they call it SSMP as well. We both played this. I played it a couple times. You played it a couple times. It's a 4-player spaceship shooting game. I don't know. There was a couple different modes, and so every time you control like a little spaceship. By spaceship, I mean I think it was like literally a triangle shot,
like an old school, 8-bit style spaceship when they used to just be triangles.
Yeah, and you and a couple other friends, like up to 4 people would go into these different levels. And I think the first level was a shrinking level, right?
Yeah.
So every couple of seconds the level would get smaller, and you could get crushed by the sides or you could get shot. And then there was a level where every time you either boosted or shot, everyone else in the level would also boost and shoot. So it was kind of interesting. Like if you could see someone coming at you, you could actually boost them in front of you and shoot them.
Yeah.
There was a level...
You could shoot black holes.
Yeah, where you'd make black holes and then you could like bounce people into them.
It would suck you into them, like a black hole.
Usually I shot a black hole and then sucked myself into it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad at that.
Yeah. And then there was another one that I think you could actually then create custom games that would take... It seems like there was like 4 or 5 different like level modifiers, and then you could combine those to make custom levels too. So you could make a level that shrank and shot black holes, or a level that like you all sync your movements and shoot black holes, or the game would shrink. It was really fun. It was like another one of those where you just hear these random like oh, and it was that game. Another I was so happy with how many like 4-player co-op couch co-op games there were there that were just cheap, and it's those kind of games that you have a cheap PC hooked up to your TV or whatever. This game's $13. And it's not a game you're going to play every day, but it could be totally one of those games where you have a bunch of buddies over and you're like, hey, let's just play stupid shooters on the couch for 4 hours and have an amazing time. And SSMP was definitely one of those games. Out now for PC, the developer said he's working on console ports. So
yeah,
definitely fun. The next one I did not play because the people there can't count. But Dylan did play, and it's a game that we've talked about. It's Fortnite.
So pretty big game.
Big game. Huge display.
Huge display. The line was very long most of the time, which is kind of strange because this game is out.
Yeah. And there was crazy to me the number of people in line that were waiting in line because their friends played this game and they wanted them to try it.
Okay.
So, but I mean, God, we waited in line forever. The play session was 20 minutes long.
Yeah, 20 minutes. So we only had to wait for the third session, so we waited 40 minutes plus a little bit for whatever. But this is a game that I don't think I disliked the game as much as I was disappointed that the trial version didn't do a good job at showing the game off.
Yeah.
And I think that was my biggest takeaway from it. Is something I would have enjoyed more had it been shown off to me differently.
Yeah.
And I think it was also strange that they had all those computers hooked up and everyone was coming through to play through at the same time, right? But no one was playing with each other.
Yeah, it was all single player.
It was a single player demo, and I think that was obviously, there's pros and cons to that, but I don't think it's the best way to show that game off, and it's something I would be interested in playing, but the more I hear about it, it sounds like it's pretty grindy.
Fortnite, to me, is 100% a game that I am not going to pay $30 or $40 for that they have right now, because I know it's going to be free to play next year, and I guarantee it's a game I'm going to download, and I'm going to play it co-op with my kid for 2 or 3 hours and never play again.
Yeah.
It looks interesting. The mechanics look interesting, but there's just no big hook to it. I will say that I think it did like base building better using a controller. Oh no, because you guys were on mouse and keyboard, weren't you?
Yeah, we were on mouse and keyboard.
I don't know. It looked really easy to like put up a door and put up a wall and put a hole in it, or lay traps, that kind of thing. And like the art style's great. It looks interesting, but I just don't want to pay for it when I know it's going to be free next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a lot of redeeming qualities, but I hope that's not hidden underneath unnecessary grinding, because that's what it sounds to me like whenever I hear someone talking about it. So, oh well.
Yeah. We'll get there. I will say that the monitors that you guys played that on, though, were maybe the most gorgeous PC monitors I've ever seen, ever. I think they were the Acer Predators.
Yeah, they're those
27, 29-inch.
Yeah, they seemed a little bit
4K.
bigger than a 27-inch.
I think they were 29-inch 4K monitors, and they were gorgeous.
Yeah,
they're like
those were
$800 a piece, but my God, they were beautiful.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Anyway, like we said, Fortnite is out now, PC, PS4, Xbox. I think it's $40.
They just did a 25% off of that too, so it was $30, but I don't know if that's still happening. But
I don't know. It's going to be free next year,
And they added a battle royale mode though.
Yeah,
right?
there is. They're on the PUBG bandwagon.
Yeah.
So, like every game in the world is going to have a battle royale.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that all the Call of Duty games, they're all going to have some 100 versus 100 kind of thing. Next one, actually, Death Squared. We already talked about. Great game. Play that game. I think the next one is actually Dylan's favorite game he played there.
It is my favorite game of the show, which is currently in early access.
And it has been for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Gang Beasts.
And it comes to PS4, but soon, apparently.
Yep.
But it's so hard to even explain this game. It's like potato sack lucha wrestling. Like, it's the wonkiest, heaviest physics in these, like, blob people, and it's like a battle royal, like over the top rope, toss them off the map style wrestling
4v4,
game.
4v4. Yeah,
or one like 4-person free for all.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, and that's the entire thing of the game. Is like one of the levels we played. You're literally on like a sign along a highway, like a
billboard.
A billboard. Thank you. I'm like, I knew those things had words. And you're fighting on the like walkway that goes in front of the billboard, and the entire idea is to get the other people and throw them off the side or knock out the billboard and push them out. But with like the jankiest like QWOP physics you've ever, like every single person is like, they have no bones. Like, I don't know.
It's amazing.
They're full of pudding.
Yeah. And the sound you make when you hit somebody is just like
you're slapping pudding.
Like, it's amazing.
But it's really strange because at the same time, like, it feels like you have almost no control over your character, but then you play it and you're like, oh no, I know exactly what I'm doing. It just doesn't always work.
It's amazing how much effort you have to put forth into what you're trying to actually accomplish, which I think is why it's so satisfying. Is like when I grab that big blob and hoist him over my head and try to wiggle my way towards the edge and throw him, and he doesn't quite make it, and he holds on to me,
the edge,
and he pulls me with him, and I almost fall off too, and then someone else grabs on it, and it's a chain of blob people like falling off together, and it's just so satisfying.
It was super fun. But there's a billboard level, and we played one where you're like window washers, like on a window washer thing that's connected by a board, and so like you can throw the board off, and then you have to jump across. I don't know. It's a game that like you literally need to really play to appreciate. Like, I've almost bought it a handful of times and just hadn't, because I'd kind of heard kind of mixed things in early access, like that it came out to a lot of acclaim and then kind of didn't do as well. It's had some kind of problems in early access since then, but God, it was so fun. It's the perfect game to sit down and play with 4 buddies on a couch. It is out for PC now. It is coming out for PS4. I'm trying to figure out how much it costs. Because it's not much, I don't think. It's on Steam right now for $20.
Yeah.
So,
and I have not played a game that just made me laugh out loud like this. As I can't really remember, because that's not usually a experience you have with games. Is just like rolling laughing, but it's super funny. It's just. It was
really fun to, like, because the way you did it too is you just get in line with 4 people, and so we just wait in line, and the people in front of you were screaming and laughing, and then the people in front of them, you'd wait a little more, and the next people would be screaming and laughing, and then you get to play, and you're like, I don't get it. What's this game about? And then you'd play it, and then all of a sudden you're the people screaming and laughing.
It is so great.
I also got to see Tim Schafer while waiting in line, which was...
Because that was a Double Fine game.
It's a Double Fine game,
mentioned that.
I'm like, oh my God, it's Tim Schafer. He's famous. I want to talk to him, but I'm scared.
And then he walked away.
So, that's how it goes. Every time I see a famous person, I'm like, I want to talk to them, and I never do.
Yeah.
Lastly, game is Figment. It is actually not out yet. It comes out actually probably the day this goes up. I think today's the 20th. I think this will probably go up the 22nd. And so it'll be out by the time you hear this. It's a really interesting game. The idea of it is you are a person. That I can't remember if you're asleep or in a coma, and the game takes place like inside your subconscious and the different areas of your subconscious. And it was kind of a environmental kind of adventure game where you're this character and you're having to walk around and kind of solve puzzles. Like the portion I played was supposed to be taking place kind of inside the imagination center of your brain, and so a lot of it was the areas were kind of walled off by fog, and so you'd spend a lot of time finding these little like charge crystals that then could charge like big windmills that you could then rotate, and once you could get them charged and rotating in the right direction, then it would blow out all the fog and you'd be able to go to a new section of it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful kind of like impressionistic, surrealist art style that you just kind of have to see to understand. But just, it was gorgeous to play. The music was fantastic. The developers were just super, super nice guys. Making a game that looked really fun. Definitely one that I'm going to try out. Like I said, it's going to come out on PC, on Steam in a couple days, and then it's going to come to consoles after that. So it definitely one to look out for. It's called Figment. That's all the games. Oh, no, we've got one more. I almost forgot. We didn't put it on the list, but Dylan tried it at ID at
Xbox and PAX a few times. I kept going back to it, and that's Hello Neighbor, which is
from Tiny Build,
the newest Teeny Build game. Tiny Build.
Tiny Build? I don't know. Tiny Build.
Teeny's smaller than Tiny.
Whatever. Anyway, weird game. Super weird game.
And that's why it's like I want to figure out more about this game, so I kept kind of playing it again because it's hard. It's you sneak into your neighbor's house who's got some kooky secret, and you're trying to figure that out. So you have to try to get into his basement. But if he spots you and like catches up to you, you have to restart.
Yeah.
So it's very hard.
You're sneaking through rooms and using the environment,
and it's really wacky. Like it's kind of almost like Dr. Seuss like
the art style's weird. But this dude, like, I mean, he's got like bear traps all around his house. Like,
yeah,
he's definitely hiding something. And he's like this. Your neighbor character is the most amazing looking guy. He's like, I don't know, 3 feet tall and has this great hat. And,
but it seems very interesting, and it doesn't do much of explaining it. You just kind of have to figure it out, and I guess that's kind of interesting. But I hope it does give you a little bit more kind of help to get started in maybe the final version of this game when it comes out. But it's currently in like its beta.
Early access on Steam.
You can is it alpha or beta? In what order? I don't know.
Alpha's first, beta's second.
So you can download the alpha for free and play the jankiest version of the game.
Oh, you're right,
you can purchase the beta.
Can you? Like, I'm looking on Steam right now, and it says it's not available until December 8th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So maybe you will be able to purchase the beta, but anyway, you'll be able to buy a later version of the game if you're interested in early access to the game and then playing the full game when it comes out.
So if you pre-order it right now, you get immediate beta access.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yep.
So you get beta access if you pre-purchase the game, or you can download the alpha for free and play it in its jankiest version.
It's interesting their description of it is Hello Neighbor is a stealth horror game about sneaking into your neighbor's house. Play against an advanced AI that learns from your every move. It was... Yeah. Maybe the guy doesn't have a hat. I don't know why I thought the neighbor had a hat. He's got a cool, like, snidely whiplash mustache.
Yeah,
though.
Cool mustache and weird proportions, like tiny legs, big chest.
Yep. That's available now, $30.
Yeah. If you're into that kind of thing, I definitely recommend it. If you like that kind of challenge, it's definitely a kind of a puzzly game trying to figure out how you... I mean, you can cut off power to the house, or there's cameras everywhere. There's different ways to make noise. There's keys to doors, and like, I don't know, you can hide in closets. It's
interesting.
You just got to figure it out. So it's like, I'm really curious how you actually beat this game. I'm sure people have, and I'm sure you can go spoil it and watch it online and figure it out. But definitely worth checking out. It's something I want to check out.
Also going to be on the Xbox.
Yeah.
So check that out. I think that's all the games we played at PAX. Like I said, we really stayed more indie this year just because I'm too lazy to wait in a 4-hour line to play Far Cry 5.
Yeah, I'd rather play... Oh, yeah, I did play one AAA big game.
Oh, I did not play. And
that was Detroit Become Human.
Oh, you
the
like
new David Cage game in the vein of Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, and it was great. I can't wait to play that. That is the games I really like. Basic premise of the game is artificial intelligence as like these police officer agents, and how that can kind of, I mean, the whole ethics behind that, right? So they took our jibs, that kind of thing, but you play as the android coming into this crime scene and analyzing, and there's actually a shooter holding a hostage at that time, and you're trying to convince the shooter, who is also an android, but one that has
kind of sentience almost.
Yeah, and he's felt betrayed because he was going to be replaced by his masters or owners, whatever you call it, and he was kind of like and the family's android, and he's being replaced because something was wrong with him. So you have to work through this problem and either be honest with him. It's just a very interesting, I mean, real future kind of situation to play through, and that should be really fun. Very cool. I got in line right away in the morning and played it, and then I was like, that's it. And then I'd rather play a lot more games than a lot less games if I'm going to
It's a great part of PAX is you can literally play a game every 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. I look kind of through my list, and it looks like I played about 34 games in 3 days.
Yeah,
so it's good stuff. Excellent. Well, that is us for today. Thanks for coming by. If there was anything, if you guys went to PAX and played something that you really liked, let us know if we missed it. There's so many games that I guarantee we did. There's
games you'd have to walk by and you're just like,
other games there's other hotels that we never ended up at. We missed the entire Seattle indie stuff. So
the Nintendo line was was like a 3-hour wait, but you got to play 18 games at the end, which is probably a good value if you really want to wait in a line for 3 hours, but it doesn't feel like you're getting much of a value. So
I only had one Switch with me too.
Yeah.
So. But tons of stuff. Just let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. But I think these games are going to be ones to watch for over the next year or so.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff will come out. So I think that's us for today. And have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.